to Smith. Jabari for three and the win. Yeah! He got it!
We are here to Fuel Rockets News. It's the Rockets Fuel podcast presented by the Believe Network and sponsored by Bet Online. Of course, I'm your co-host, LaShard Binkley. You can always find my written work over at Binkley Hoops on Twitter, and you can find my written work over at Sports Illustrated. And before we get into it, it's been a long time since we've been on the show. I want to give my co-host a chance to introduce himself to everyone.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Vader. You can find me at Vader Sports on Instagram and also on X app, formerly known as Twitter, for all your Rockets-related and Texans-related news, videos, highlights, things like that. Let's get it.
And like I just said, Vader, it's been a while, man. How have you been? What have you been up to? How has your summer been? We're about to get back into it here with the season about to start, but it's been good to take a break at least.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I love the Rockets. I love the Astros. I love the Texans. But, you know, sometimes it's good to kind of get off of social media, take a little break, get recharged for the season because, you know, everybody on social media has an opinion and everybody's opinion is right, you know, to them.
Yep.
So, you know, just kind of getting out of those conversations for a little while, getting recharged, rejuvenated. But I'm ready now. Like we got the Texans doing hopefully some big things over there. You know, at Reliance Stadium with C.J. Stroud and, you know, the additions of, you know, some of the guys that they brought over, like Joe Mixon, who was the player of the week because he rushed for 159 yards, I believe. You know, you got Stephon Diggs, of course, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. And I know this is not a Texans podcast, but I got to give some love to my Texans, man. And, of course, you know, while we're here, you know, obviously we're here to discuss the Rockets. And this is a season that for the first time in a while, I feel like we have like some real expectations. Like I think some people went into last season with expectations. I kind of didn't. I kind of was a wait and see guy. I want to see kind of like what Ime Udoka was going to kind of like try to build. And now that I see what he's trying to build and what he's accomplished so far, I do have some expectations going into this season. Not just for the team in general, but just for the players. The coaching staff, there's some things that I'm hoping to see, you know, growth wise and from a team perspective. So like, it's a real interesting season and I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, this is the first season where they are expected to make the playoffs. It's no more just, hey, we're happy to not be one of the worst teams in the league. We're actually expecting to take that next step and actually be playing after the regular season ends. So they are officially, like they said last year, they moved on from phase one of rebuilding. I think phase two last year was to become a more respectable, not necessarily respectable, but a more competent team where, you know, people are starting to take them seriously. And now this year, I don't think they're expecting anything less than at least a play-in. Of course,
and maybe you can't say it, LaShard, more respectable. I mean, I'll say it. I mean, that was part of it. That was part of it. See, you go to the press conferences, you probably can't say that. Like, and you know this because, you know, we've had conversations off camera, you know, off stream with people, you know, like we did not have a very good reputation around the league.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a secret. You know, I think it's okay if we say it, but like it was not just, you know, it was from players, player development, coaching staff. It was just like the past few years, up until last year, the Rockets were not viewed in a great light. And, you know, you actually had people saying that they didn't want their players to come here and things of that nature. So, like the change up last season when Ime Udoka came in, and I think that he brought a lot of respectability to back to the franchise. I mean, this is a franchise that, you know, we have history, right? You know, this is Hakeem Olajuwon and you know, Moses Malone. You know, we have history of having great players and having teams that go to the NBA Finals. You know, during the James Harden era, you know, no matter what you think about James Harden, you know, that team made the playoffs almost every single year. And then even prior to that, like it was just like we just weren't a losing team. And that's why it was kind of hard for us as a fan base to accept all the losing and all the stuff that came along with it. But finally, you know, you can kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully it's not a train.
Yes. And I mean, compared to where they've been in the past, I don't think it could be if it is a train, I don't think it could be any worse than what they dealt with those those previous 3 seasons before Ime Udoka got here. But on today's show, we're actually going to be talking about first we're going to be talking about the off season and kind of some of the things that happen. A lot of times you don't get a lot of video, you don't get a lot of content from the off season, but we have seen some things from some of the Rockets throughout the off season and leading up until yesterday when we saw some video of Jaylen Green working out and some of the things he's been working on this off season. We're also going to be talking about the Rockets were out at the Houston Emergency Center this past Wednesday. I was out there to cover that. And they also talked about some of the upcoming season and what some of their expectations are. So some interesting things from that we're going to talk about. And to end the show, we're going to kind of give our expectations, what we think is going to happen next season. Not necessarily a record, exactly how many wins and losses they're going to have, but kind of what we're expecting for that's going to happen for them this upcoming season if they're going to actually be a play-in or a playoff team. We're going to be talking about that at the end of the show. But, of course, I want to start with what's been happening this offseason. At least for me, it seems that they have been working out together a lot more than in previous seasons. Now, of course, we don't know because we're not there. They may be working on it. It just wasn't video of it the past few seasons. But it just seems like it's more of an effort for them to work out together this season. We saw Jaylen Green host his players only mini camp in Los Angeles probably like a month or so ago. We've seen different video of different players working out together in the new training facility. It seems like they've been working out a lot in that new training facility. Like I said, we're going to be talking about that next. And that's something that we didn't see a lot last season. And then we saw Jaylen Green just yesterday. He was working out with a trainer. He was working on his balance, his pace. He was working on different aspects of his game, staying low on his counter moves. So different things that he's going to need to be able to get better at so he can kind of take that next step next season. So Vader, what have you seen from the Rockets this offseason? Like I said, a lot of times it's not a lot of video or a lot of content that comes during the NBA offseason when it comes to what the players have been working on. But what have you seen, or have you seen like kind of an uptick in the amount of workouts that they have been doing together as a team and just kind of individual workouts?
And maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna explain. So back in the day, and I'm not saying we're a championship team, but like I know
Yeah.
like the championship Rockets did those workouts, right? And I think in interviews, if you go back and watch some of the interviews, they pointed to, some of those offseason things that they did as far as like building the camaraderie, of the team and stuff like that, and then kind of like getting to know each other. It was kind of crucial for that team to become what it became, which was a championship, quality team, right? They won 2 championships, and then they were just kind of like in the mix for championships year after year. The James Harden era Rockets, even though they didn't get over the hump, because like let's be honest, like I know we hate on James Harden a little bit, and I think he deserves some of it, but like we did go up against one of like the greatest teams of all time with the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. That version of the Warriors was just kind of a hard team for everybody. It wasn't just for us. You know what I mean? And if that Chris Paul hamstring injury hadn't happened, who knows?
Yeah.
But that team also did a lot of stuff during the offseason, right? So it can't hurt, right? It can't be a bad thing. You have to look at it as a positive. This is obviously a formula that good teams have used in the past to become better teams. And so the fact that we have a guy like Jaylen Green who has taken criticism when we drafted Jaylen Green, or when the Rockets drafted Jaylen Green, I should say, he was known as a hard worker, right? He was known as a guy who was in the gym. You had to run him out of the gym. I think after his first season, that offseason, there was a lot of like, oh, where's the Jaylen Green workout videos?
All the time. Yep.
Like he ain't working on his game. He in Paris for Fashion Week and this, that, and the third. And a lot of very prominent NBA players were going at that too, but like he didn't have the other stuff to kind of like silence those critics. The past couple of years, we've seen a lot of Jaylen Green workout videos, right? And so, like I said, maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something. I can't. You can't say that he's not at least trying to improve. He is working on his game, and the fact that he did this as far as organizing the team workout, to me, that says a lot about what he is trying to be and what he's trying to put himself as like a leader of this team. You know what I mean? Because like that is a veteran move. A lot. I think James Harden was the guy who was organizing those on the previous iteration of the Rockets. So like Jaylen Green, for him to like say, "Hey guys, we working out. We're gonna get some of this stuff ironed out. We got to figure out like where Reed Shepherd fits into this puzzle. We got to
Yeah.
figure out like what is it? What can Amon do now? Like apparently like, and we'll get to that, but like if Amon is coming back better than he was last year, man, like, and that's the expectation, like that's exciting because like
Yeah.
at the tail end of last season, the Amon Thompson that we saw was a guy who was impactful on both ends of the floor. And if you're telling me we're gonna get like a supercharged version of that, like I'm super excited about that. And like you said, Jaylen Green's obviously putting in the work. Alperen Sengun, they sent guys to work
Yeah.
out with him. That's been one of the points of contention over the past years. Yeah, he's been working out over the summer, but is he doing the things that the Rockets need him to do to get better?
Yeah.
He's like been working on like like you see him doing like these quirky exercises, working on like different. No, like they obviously work. I mean, he was great last year before he got injured. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying they don't work, but like for them to send people out and be like, hey, yeah, you can work on like, balancing the ball on one foot and doing all this and whatever, but we also want you to work on this. So for them to like dedicate resources to that, like I'm just kind of super excited to see like what kind of jump is Alperen Sengun making this year? What kind of jump is Amon Thompson making this year? Jaylen Green, even Cam Whitmore, he was up and down during the summer league. And then obviously, our third pick in the draft, Reed Shepherd, he started off like really, I mean, he kind of had the fan base and a buzzing, because of the stuff that we saw him do during summer league, because he brings something to the table that we kind of don't have. Yeah. So that's just kind of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing right now.
Yeah, because like you said, I'm glad you brought up Sengun because I forgot to say that when I was talking about the offseason. And it's a pretty big deal because it just wasn't Cam Hodges, the one coach that was talking about it. They sent several coaches down there to spend several weeks. I mean, that's a pretty big commitment. And I know a lot of times people think the Rockets, for some reason, don't like Sengun or they got this thing out for Sengun, but that's a huge commitment to send 2 or 3 of your player development coaches to Turkey for several weeks. That's a pretty big commitment, and that kind of shows that the Rockets are hoping Sengun takes another step next season to where he turns into. I mean, like we were saying, he was already All-Star caliber last year. To actually turn into an All-Star player. So that's a pretty huge commitment for the Rockets to make and for Sengun to make, to even want the Rockets to come out there and work out with him for several weeks. So I think the Rockets and Sengun are on the same page, and like you said, with Jaylen Green organizing and kind of follow up on that. Someone asked Rafael Stone about that, and he said that because Jaylen, he was the one that put it together. He was the one that had the idea. He wasn't sure how many players were going to come out, but as you saw, it was a lot of players that came out. So that tells you also what his teammates thinks of him, that they would take time out of their, training schedule or what they got going in the offseason, stop to go out to Los Angeles and work out with Jaylen Green. And then, of course, we saw Jaylen Green, and it may not be a big deal to some people, but they went out watch shopping. I mean, all that stuff goes for team chemistry, because I don't care how good of a team you are. If you don't have chemistry, unless you have some all-time players,
Right.
you're not going to win in the NBA on a consistent basis. So all that goes to the team chemistry. And then, of course, we saw, and it's funny you brought that up about a couple of years ago. People were like, well, Jaylen Green, he doesn't work out. If I don't see video, then he must not be working out. So now we're starting to see those videos. And of course, he's doing workouts when we don't see him as well. So now you're seeing even more and more videos. I mean, that to me, that kind of shows a commitment to, hey, yes, I'm a young player and I was a high draft pick, but now I'm ready to move past that and actually move on to, winning basketball. So that's, to me, is a huge step for this next season. And then you mentioned about James Harden and him organizing events. I don't think it's a huge coincidence that the most videos we saw of James Harden working out during the offseason was during that Chris Paul era, where we would see them all running around downtown Houston together as a team. And that's, of course, when they had their best season as far as win total ever during that time period. Because other than that, a lot of time we were seeing a lot of videos of James Harden hanging out with little baby and out partying and doing things like that. But during that time when they were really winning, we saw a lot of videos of just them working out together on the court. So it may not be a huge deal, like you said, it may not be a big deal, but to me, it's nothing negative that can come from
Right.
that. It's only
Exactly.
positive. So that's definitely something that I've noticed during this offseason, that we've seen a lot more workouts from pretty much all of the Houston Rockets and a lot more workouts together, because there's no mandatory thing that says they have to work out together during the offseason. So the fact that they want to do that, to me, that says a lot about, how the team is moving forward and want to, take that next step next season. Um, Another thing I want to talk about, besides the offseason workouts, is, like I said, the Rockets were out at the Houston Emergency Center this past Wednesday, and several of the Rockets were there, like Thompson, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, and of course we have Rafael Stone, and Coach Ime Udoka was also out there. But during the event, Rafael Stone talked about that training facility where the Rockets have been working out a lot. A lot of the videos you've seen in the last, I'll probably say, month of the Rockets working out was at that training facility. And so Rafael Stone talked about that. I asked him, is there a big difference between now that the training camp is going to be in Houston, and because in the past season it's been in Galveston, it's been in Louisiana, is there any advantage to having it here in Houston and having it at the training facility? And this is what Rafael said.
Of all the things involved, I think that'll be one of the smaller ones, but still really nice. You know what I mean? And so I think just the ability to have a dedicated facility that is built around the team's needs is honestly, it's much more of a game changer than I thought it would be. Like when you're in it and you're using it, you're newly appreciative. I mean, all you need to play basketball is a basketball court, right? And so that's very much kind of where we've been for the last X years, 20 years that I've been with the organization, and no one's felt like, oh, we didn't have the resources we needed. But all of a sudden you get all these new resources, you're like, man, this is amazing. And I think that's where we're at. It's been really, really nice.
So again, like we talked about we saw a lot more training videos. It may not be a huge deal, but with the training facility, yes, it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, they're going to win more games because they have a new training facility. But again, it's no negative that comes from having this new training facility. Kind of give you kind of a insight to how the current Rockets practice area is. Right now, they have a practice court on the first floor. It's only one court, so all the team has to practice on this one court. Then you have the coaches on another level. Then you have the workout room on another floor. So you have all this stuff separated. And again, yes, it's not a huge deal because you are still in the same building. But now they have everything on one level. Everything is state of the art. They have 2 practice courts. And this is something that if you go watch the videos we have up on our YouTube channel, Rocket Fuel YouTube channel, every single player, that's like one of the first things they said was, it's bigger. It's, like I said, it's more space. We have 2 practice courts. We have everything we need like in one area. And even though it may be a 0.1 difference in how they perform on the court, it's still a difference. So all the stuff, it's like the offseason workouts, all the stuff kind of starts to add up. So I think that it's nothing but a positive move to be able to move to this training facility, to have your training camp down here. Even the site levels I'm not a professional NBA player, so I can't really say, oh, the site level here is a lot better than, but you could tell it's a difference between this practice court and just watching the videos. And hopefully when I actually go through the tour, I can really be able to tell. But I even heard that the site levels are different as far as how they're shooting. It's more conducive of how it is in a game at the new facility than it was at their practice court they're at. So all the stuff adds up to me to makes a big difference. And when Rafael said that it's a game changer, I don't think he's not the type of person that's going to go overboard when he's talking about anything. So to me, it has to be some type of difference if he's saying that, as far as, move to this new training facility.
I would say, and I hadn't even thought about this before until like just watching this video right now. And I watched the video already, but like it makes a difference where you work. Like if you have a
Yeah.
job, anybody that's watching this, and you've worked in multiple places, like being in a place that is kind of run down and You don't kind of have everything you need, and you kind of like see where other people are working, and their work space is better than yours. Like
Yeah.
it don't prevent you from working. It doesn't stop nothing. But like having a place where you can feel good, like an area where you can go in and get your work done, and it's nice, and you have everything you need at your fingertips. Like it just makes you feel better, man. And I feel like like I said, this cannot be a negative in any shape,
Yeah.
form, or fashion. So them being able to go to work and just having everything that they need, at their fingertips, having access to, whether it's, they said that they only had a limited amount of baskets at the other day, which is kind of
Yeah.
crazy for a professional NBA team. So I can't go in there because Jaylen and Alperen are already, and Cam Whitmore are already in there. You know what I mean? They're already getting stuff up. I can't kind of work on this thing that I need to work on. Like these are things that we weren't even considering before until now that they're kind of bringing it to light. But like they have so many more like hoops that these guys can get stuff done on. And that's just scratching the surface of, eventually at some point in time this month or next month or whenever, they're going to reveal the facility to us. And I
Yeah.
think we're going to be probably astounded by the difference. Like when you see like, and I know we've already seen like pictures of like what the old facility looked like, and it was comparable to maybe a high school facility. In fact, I would probably say a lot of high schools probably had better facilities than this. And so now when we see this new thing, we're gonna be like, wow, like it was like I'm not gonna. I'm thinking like I don't know if I should say that because it might be controversial, but we'll just say they were working in like dilapidated conditions, and now they're going to be working in a state of the art facility, and only that can only be a good thing. That can only be a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, because I mean, and then you have state of the art training for rehab facility as well now. So they're going to be having the best of the best, and even though it doesn't necessarily affect what's going to happen on the court this year, and also this is something that Tim and Fertitta talked about when we did the initial walkthrough of the facility. How this is also will help with free agency because now you're bringing in because free agents look at everything. Yes, ultimately it's about money and how good the team is, but they look at everything. I mean,
They
they'll
do.
look at the facility, they'll look at where they're going to be playing, where they're going to be living. So now you bring them to this state of the art facility, and okay, this is where I'll be because I mean, honestly, you're going to be at this facility more. Than you're going to be on the court. So you're going to be okay. I'll be working at this state of the art facility now instead of working out, at the Toyota Center where they, haven't really been able to do much upgrading to that facility, since they've been there. So, like I said, all this stuff kind of factors into it, and a lot of times, we don't think about the small things like this, like you said. And to me, that does make a difference as far as just the overall product that you're going to see out on the court. We also heard from, like I said, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Reed Shepard. And one interesting thing that Amin was talking about, someone asked him, "Hey, have you gotten taller this offseason?" He said, I can't really tell, but everybody's been telling me I'm taller than I was last season. He's like, yeah, hopefully I'm 6'8". And I didn't have a tape measure or anything, but to me, it looked like he has grown a little bit since last season. And also another thing Ime did say was they asked him who was the players that stood out this offseason as far as how they looked and how they came back compared to last season. And the first person he named was Amin Thompson. So it definitely seemed like it's something to the fact that Amin Thompson has bulked up. He may have gotten taller. So what do you think as far as how that could help him going into this next season? 'Cause like you said, we saw him at the end of last season and the huge impact that he had. And now the possibility that he's grown another whatever as far as his height and he's also gotten bigger. To me, that's just leading to Ahmed Thompson coming out the gate strong.
Yeah, that just kind of blew my mind when I first started hearing about it because I'm like, this has to be like cap. This is not true. Because like he was already like an older rookie, right? He's
Yeah.
like 20 last year as a rookie, and then he's a workout demon. He's a guy who was known for like not sleeping in the gym. Like I'm not even making this up. Like him
Yeah.
and his brother would like literally like sleep at the workout complex, get up, work out, do the stuff they had to do on the court, lift. So I kind of, other than like the natural bulk up process of him just getting older and putting on weight like that. I wasn't thinking that he was going to come back after one season and look different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe, 3-4 years down the line as he gets older, because we all gain weight as we get older. It's just kind of normal, good weight or bad weight. I was expecting that, but like for them to say like he's put in like additional, like he took his workout, which was already like at a fanatical level from what we were told, to where he came back, bigger now, and then maybe he grew. I wasn't even expecting maybe he could grow another inch or two, because I was like, all right, he's probably maxed out physically. Because if you look at the guy, like, pause, whatever, look at his calf muscles and look at, like, I mean, right? He was already like pretty fit. Like he wasn't a guy like Jaylen Green. I'll put it like this. Jaylen Green came into the league and we like, okay, yeah, he got a lot of filling out to do, right? Because he was like 170 pounds or whatever, 180, soaking wet. And you just knew he needed to like get in the gym. Like nobody said that about Amin Thompson. Amin Thompson and his brother Asur came into the NBA pretty much with NBA ready physiques. And so like for him to come back, like, and they may mention that he's faster, he's stronger. And this is a guy who they worked out and said was like the best athlete they've ever had in their building. Maybe there's some hyperbole to that, but like we saw the film, before they even drafted him. Dude is a ridiculous athlete. We saw what he did last season as a rookie, to veteran players. Like dude was locking dudes up, getting steals, getting out on the break, throwing down some crazy dunks, making crazy passes, and he was doing all of this. And now you're telling me he's faster and stronger, and maybe he grew another inch. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, this is a guy who, if he ever can develop any kind of semblance of a jump shot, and I'm not talking about like him being Steph Curry or Damian Lillard or anything like that. Like even a Russell Westbrook level, and Russell Westbrook can't shoot, but even a Russell Westbrook like 30% like level 3-pointer, like. How are you gonna guard this dude? Like I know they're gonna put him in drop, but his gifts, he's so gifted athletically. Like I think he's just gonna be able to like dissect pretty much any kind of defense, and his basketball intellect is just so high. Like I'm really high on Amin Thompson. So if all the things they're saying is true, I can't wait to see what it looks like on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads us into the last topic before we wrap up the show. And it's kind of our expectation going into the season. We're going to be having shows throughout the week when the Rockets start training camp, because we'll start to get a better idea of what we're going to see on the court, because that'll be the first time we see the entire team on the court. But we want to talk about kind of what we're expecting this upcoming season. We've already been talking a little bit about it throughout this show, but what are you expecting from the Rockets this upcoming season? Not necessarily record-wise, but do you see them possibly making the playoffs? Do you see them more of a play-in team? Where do you kind of see them falling? Because like we said, the Rockets' expectation this year is nothing short than the play-in. They definitely don't want to go backwards from their 41-41 record from last season.
Yeah, so we always talk about wins and losses, like you said, and I think I kind of had, when we predicted wins and losses, I think I was kind of in that range last season before the season, but like I was thinking of a 41-42 win team was a playing team, and so each year is different. Like if it would have been the year before, they absolutely would have been qualified for the play-in with that record. So instead of talking about records, we have to kind of think about where they are in relation to the other teams that are in the Western Conference. Western Conference is tough. There are teams that are above them that I just don't see them leaping. And then there are teams below them, such as Memphis, who was above them before the injuries and suspensions and all that kind of stuff. So you have to take that into factor as well. And so it's kind of hard to predict where we are going to be this season. A lot of it is contingent upon what did those three trainers do with Alperen Sengun, when they were out in Turkey with him. How much better is he? Because like we talked about earlier, he was already really, really good last year. How much better can he be? Where's his ceiling? Jaylen Green's been working out. Can he be the player that he looked like in March for the duration of the season? Yeah, he's going to have some peaks and valleys. That's normal. But can he be, March Jaylen Green, 2 or 3 months out of the season instead of just one,
Yeah.
1 month out of the season, right? That's going to be like, in fact, I kind of feel like Jaylen Green is the biggest swing here. He's the biggest swing player as far as how is this season going to end up. If he can be what they thought he was going to be when they drafted him at, with the second pick in the draft, sky's the limit. I think playoff team for sure. If he struggles again, then we're looking at another season where who knows. So I don't know, man. Like I'm thinking like you're saying, like we cannot settle for anything less than a play-in. Like they have to make the play-in, or I'm gonna say this season is a disappointment. But as far as record wise, I just don't know. Just don't know. It's hard, and this is the first season that I'm going into, like I said, with actual expectations, and like I don't want to be disappointed, but they need to be somewhere between, like, I think if I'm being realistic, I think they got to be somewhere between 8 to 10 for this to be considered a good season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's being controversial, saying that if they don't make the playoffs, or at least a play in, that's definitely a disappointing season. Because to me, it's play in or bust this season, because you've been leading up to this the first 3 years. We've talked about that over and over again, what was going on with that. Then last season was more about taking that next step and being a team that, you actually expect to win night in and night out. And if you don't make the playoffs, if you did make the playoffs last year, that would have just been a bonus. But this season, you're expecting with Jaylen Green in his fourth year, alperensengun in his fourth year. Now you've had Emme's had a second. This is going into year number 2 of him actually being able to put in his entire system. Then you still have the same veterans. You're expecting a jump from Ahmed. You're expecting a jump from Cam Whitmore. And we haven't even talked about Jabari Smith.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Him having to take that next step from, improving his rebounding last year, but this year improving his overall game. You have to expect that the Rockets at the very least make the play-in. Like you said, between 8 and 10, to me, is reasonable. I won't say I will be shocked if they in the top 6, but it would take a lot. It would take probably career years from a lot of players for them to get in the top 6. Not just because the Rockets are a bad team,
Right.
but because the West is just ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about having to jump teams like Sacramento, who's gotten better. You still got to factor in, even though the Lakers were a team that only made, they barely got in outside of the play-in. Then you got Golden State. Yes, they lost Clay, but they're still Golden State. I mean, you got a lot of teams
Denver,
right around Denver, right around your range that have a lot more playoff experience, have made the playoffs recently. So, I mean, you got a lot of good teams. Like, if they were in the East, I would have no problem saying, they could be a top 6 team. Like, I would have no doubt. But in the West, it's just so tough. So, to me, they have to make the play in this year, because if they don't, we may be seeing some major changes
right?
coming
And
up.
Daryl Morey used to talk about this all the time, as far as like improving the roster. He's like, you're trying to like figure out the best group of guys you can assemble to compete for a championship, and some of that is going to have to be like internal development, right? And so these guys are so young, we just don't know what they are yet. So it's kind of hard when we start talking about like, what are my predictions? Well, how good is Jabari Smith Jr. going to be? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Like, what if Jabari actually lives up to his pre-draft hype? All of a sudden, now the Rockets are like super scary. Like, if Jabari Smith Jr. actually becomes like this prototypical 3-and-D power forward / center or whatever.
I mean, Tari Eason, we haven't even talked about him.
Like,
Steven Adams.
There's so many like outliers here where it's just kind of very difficult to kind of pinpoint. And so we'll know a couple weeks into the season, like, and then this conversation might actually like be easier to make, because like I don't know what Jabari Smith Jr. is going to look like. This is his 3rd year. We always talk about guys making the leap in their 3rd year. He has to me, like, show some, and big men, like, historically, like, if you look back at like Dirk didn't come into this, and I'm not comparing him to Dirk Nowitzki. I'm not saying it. Like, Dirk was not like a Dirk was horrible his rookie year. I don't know if y'all remember that, but like
Yeah,
Dirk looked like a bust, man. Like I did not think, from watching Dirk his rookie season that this was going to be like one of the greatest players of all time. He looked trash. He just looked like another guy who, people drafted too high off of hype. He was a 7-footer that could do these things, and it just wasn't going to pan out. Like he looked like a Darko kind of bust type of thing going on. Kevin Garnett. He was not Kevin Garnett his rookie season. A lot Zach Randolph. There's a lot. We can make a list of guys who like were really terrible rookie season. And Jabari was like 19. He was 19 years old. So it's kind of hard for me to like write him off. I know a lot of people in the fan base think he's just gonna be like, he ain't gonna be anything. But you don't know. And if he does come back and have a 3rd-year leap this year, it kind of changes the trajectory of where I feel like the Rockets can be. Obviously, we were expecting a Jaylen Green 3rd-year leap last year. I think you got to give him some grace. A lot of people in the fan base are kind of done with him already. But like, if you consider the fact, like, bro's been playing AAU basketball forever. He played like all through high school, AAU.
yeah,
He was clip farming, like just, doing stuff so he can go viral. You know what I mean? And then 1 year of Ignite. So now we'll just count the 4 years of high school, 1 year Ignite. That's 5 years. The 2 years of, playing under Steven Silas, like that's 7 years of like bad basketball, 7 years of bad basketball. And like, you didn't play this clip, but like, because like the MA Udoka audio was kind of off, but like Udoka talked about like how this season was going to be different from last season because he didn't have to like break guys down from like and like completely rebuild, what he needed for them to do. And he didn't say any names, but Jaylen Green had to be like one of the guys he was thinking about because we saw early in the season like Jaylen Green was really struggling to redefine himself and his role with the Houston Rockets and under Ime Udoka. And so Udoka is like, okay, well, I don't have to do all of this now. I've already and this I'm paraphrasing, but like I don't have to break these guys down and build them back up. They know what the expectations are now. They know what I need from them. And so now we're starting from last year we started from this level. This year we're starting from this level. And so like I'm expecting Jaylen Green to actually have his leap where the light bulb comes on and everything clicks this year. And maybe I'm wrong, and people gonna tell me on Twitter, oh, you shouldn't have been believing in Jaylen Green. Like I know he was trash the first time. I said, okay, whatever. But like I'm gonna just put it on wax. I'm putting it on recording right now. Like I think Jaylen Green's gonna have a breakout season. And if he doesn't, it's not because he hasn't been working and it's he's obviously been putting in the work and then he knows what he needs to do. So it's kind of on him now. And I think he knows that because this is a contract season, right, Lashard?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He planned for what, 200 million? Right?
Yeah,
if he can't get it done for 200 million, he's not going to get it done.
Yeah, this is make or break year just for the entire team. Like I said, I mean, if they don't make the playoffs or play in this year, you have Jaylen Green's contract coming up. You have Alperen Sengun's contract coming up. You have Fred VanVleet, who they don't have to bring back that 3rd year. As far as his contract, the only player veteran that they have that's going to be past this season is Dylan Brooks. So, I mean, it's a lot riding on the season. Steven Adams' contract is up after this year. Then you have the other guys who are still on rookie deals. So this is a huge season just overall for a lot of the Rockets team as a whole. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And we're finally going to start to kind of get a glimpse of what we're expecting to see in a couple of weeks when training camp starts. So we'll definitely be out at training camp every single day covering that. We're going to have a lot of shows, hopefully during that week as well, because we're going to have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. As usual, we appreciate the support. Let us know down in the comments, what do you think, or what is your expectations for this upcoming season? And what have you seen this offseason? Do you like what you've seen this offseason from different players and the team as a whole? Let us know down in the comments. Before I wrap it up, as usual, I appreciate you jumping on, Vader. It's been a while since we did it, so we're definitely going to be cranking it back up here soon.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I'm looking forward to like the weekly, or at least once a week. We're gonna try to like do maybe 2 a week at some point, but yeah, we're gonna be more consistent. Season starting back up, and I feel like we have some things to be excited about. So we actually have some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, compared to where the Rockets were a few seasons ago, or hell, 2 seasons ago, it's definitely a lot more excitement surrounding the Rockets. And like I said, we'll be out covering media day. We'll be out covering training camp every single day, especially since it's in Houston. I'll be out there every single day covering that. So we'll have a lot to talk about with that. And as usual, like I said, we appreciate the support. And make sure you check out the next episode of Rocket Fuel Podcast. All right.